Sari Sari Gauravani Pichaline Nivasisha Sunivari Pastatara Satarani. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gauravakravinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare. Just bear with me 1 minute. I'm just got to go and I'm going to do something very important. I'm going to bring the fan over here. Hare Krishna.
Oh, well, can you put it on us as well while you're there, Murli Prabhu?
Which chapter is it?
5.
Four.
Oh, yeah.
Five.
Chapter is it? 5. Chapter 5.
Text 40, chapter 5.
Yeah, text 40. Just let some people in. Savannah Radhika's with us and Gaia as well. Let's see. Who else? They're just joining. Okay. So let's begin then. Let's hear about Vidura. And anyone like to start us reading today?
I can read, but let others read. But Kishori, do you want to read?
Yeah, go ahead, my Vraj Kishore.
No, I can read afterwards.
Is it Krishna relished Sri Vidur's porridge?
That's it.
Yes.
I didn't think porridge was Vedic, but it seems like it is.
I eat it. Porridge is Vedic. Porridge is really nourishing.
Okay.
My Gunita.
They don't really make sweet all the time. Indian makes Indian stuff as well. They put some, Indian masala. I was surprised.
No.
I thought it's not. No, it's true.
No.
Anyway,
Yes,
let's begin reading. So go ahead, Mother Vraj Kishore.
Krishna relished Sri Vidur's porridge and organized the celebration of Sri Bhishma's passing away. Please, therefore, judge your own standing from how in many controversies both Vidur and Bhishma took your side. Commentary. Sri Krishna appeared partial to both Vidur and Bhishma, even though Vidur was a son of a low-born Sudrani. Krishna happily shared Vidur's humble food, praising it as very tasty. And Krishna graced Bhishma with his presence as Bhishma was passing away on the battlefield. Niryan means the soul's exit from the body, but as applied to a perfect transcendentalist like Bhishma, it also means merging into the existence of God. For devotees of the Lord, merging into his existence can only mean attaining spiritual body and entering the eternal kingdom of Vaikuntha. Both grandfather Bhishma saw Krishna before his eyes because grandfather Bhishma saw Krishna before his eyes at the moment of death. Bhishma certainly achieved the Vaikuntha liberation deserved only by the pure devotees. It appears that Krishna highly favored Vidur and Bhishma, even more than he loved the Pandavas. But here, Narad corrects the popular misunderstanding. Why indeed were Vidur and Bhishma so dear to Krishna? Krishna was pleased with them, not only because of their own devotional service, which was not that exceptional, but mainly because they served the Pandavas, protecting them from Duryodhan and other enemies. Vidur and Bhishma earned high esteem in the opinion of the Lord by giving shelter and affection to the sons of Partha, to the sons of Prutha, when they were helpless. Text 41. Truly, the words spoken by the ordinary women of your city amaze me. Those words focused on Krishna and imbued with transcendental knowledge and devotion are praised in songs by accomplished poets. Commentary. Generally speaking, the citizens of a state are virtuous when their rulers are virtuous, as Vyasadeva and other sages depict in their epics. Everyone in Hastinapur, under the administration of Yudhishthir and his brothers, was saintly and learned. In the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the women standing on the roofs of Hastinapur spoke to one another while Krishna was passing on the road. Their first comments sounded like those of the profound scholars. Here, he is the original personality of Godhead, as we definitely remember him. He alone existed before the manifested creation of the modes of nature, and in him only, because he is the Supreme Lord, all living beings merge, as if sleeping at night, their energies suspended. Bhagavatam 1:10-21. Then the women began speaking like Vaishnavas, steeped in the devotional ecstasy. Oh, how supremely glorious is the dynasty of King Yadu, and how virtuous the land of Mathura, where the supreme leader of all living beings, the beloved husband of the goddess of fortune, has taken his birth and wandered in his childhood. Bhagavatam 1:10-26. Since the Pandavas were the leaders of the community in which the ordinary people spoke like this, Pandavas must have been exceptionally saintly. Text 42. When Prahlad, the son of Kayadu, obtained the Supreme Lord's grace, he did so along with a grandson. The best of the monkeys was favored alone, but you, rare souls, have received the complete love and mercy of the great Lord Hari with all your family members and subordinates. Commentary. Here Narad confirms the assertions of Prahlad and Hanuman that the Pandavas are greater devotees. Other than Prahlad, the only pure devotee among Hiranyakashipu's descendant was Prahlad's grandson Bali. Hanuman alone in his family received Lord Ramchandra's mercy, since Hanuman was a lifelong brahmachari and so had no offspring. The Pandavas, in contrast, share Krishna's mercy with their entire family and entourage. According to one interpretation, Bandhu in this verse means the Pandavas' sons, wives, and other relatives, while Swajanab means their ministers and the residents of their capital, or alternatively, Bandhu means the relations of the Pandavas by marriage, like King Drupad and King Virat. Swab means their blood relatives, including Duryodhan and his brothers, and Janab means their servants and citizens. Either way, everyone associated with the Pandavas obtained the mercy of Sri Krishna, the all-attractive source of all expansions of Godhead. Text 43. Once in the court of the Kauravas, with me and other sages present, Krishna said to you, a friend of the Pandavas is my friend, and their enemy my enemy. The Pandavas are my very life heirs. Commentary. Whatever Krishna says must be absolutely true, especially when he says in the presence of pious sages like Narad. So by making this declaration in such a respectable public form, Krishna ensured that his feeling for the Pandavas would become well known throughout the world, just as the 5 pranas maintain the spirit soul in a living body. The 5 Pandavas assisted Krishna in his pastimes, and as the life air is very dear to the soul, the Pandavas were very dear to Krishna. Krishna therefore say in the Mahabharata, Udyog Parva 8:9-28, he who hates the Pandavas hate me, and he who follows them follow me. Know that I am one in spirit with the righteous Pandavas. And Krishna elsewhere says, one should not eat food of one who is hateful, nor should one feed a hateful person. You, O king, hate the Pandavas, and the Pandavas are my very life heirs.
Okay, let's just pause there. Quite a few different devotees have been mentioned, beginning with Vidura. And I think that pastime, although it's mentioned porridge, I think sometimes it's described as a banana skin, unless it's a different pastime. And we know that pastime, isn't it? This is when Duryodhan arranged a big banquet for Krishna. in order to win his favor. But then Krishna walked straight past the banquet and thus the invitation of Duryodhana, and went to a relatively small house of Vidura. And Vidura and his wife were in great ecstasy. And in his ecstasy, he offered Krishna banana skin. We probably heard this story, not the banana. And Krishna, in his ecstasy of that being offered with patram puspam phalam toyam bhakti, yomad bhakti, but he accepted that. Yeah. I think his wife stopped Krishna eating the whole banana skin. Krishna was relishing it. But here we're hearing more about the Pandavas, and perhaps we would have not have thought of this if we was to be asked, who's the most favored devotee? Is it Prahlad or is it the Pandavas? Before reading this, then we might say Prahlad.
Yes.
Yeah, because we tend to hear the glories of Prahlad, I guess because we're praying to Lord Nrsimhadev every day. And there's quite a dramatic account given in the 7th canto in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which I'm just beginning to read now. The Pandavas, of course, we hear about in the Mahabharata, of course, and the Mahabharata is a lot about the Pandavas, especially about Arjuna. But here we're hearing about, it's being described how Krishna is very merciful to a whole clan. Normally he comes and he gives mercy to one person. Yeah. One person is the recipient of the Lord's grace. Like, for instance, when Lord Nrsimhadev, although whenever he appears, then everyone gets benefit. But here we're hearing about how Krishna, it seemed also there was some charitable praise given also to the Kurus as well. Meaning because it's one family, originally it's one family. Their cousin brothers. So Krishna's appearing to be seen by a whole clan. But specifically, and as we're seeing in these verses, he's very partial. And that's the whole discussion I'm just beginning to read now again in the 7th canto. Is Krishna partial or not? Because the argument is pulled up. They saw that Shishapal, who was constantly blaspheming Krishna, got great mercy and merged into the Lord's body. So then as a question comes up, what's happening there? And also Krishna gave favor to the demigods. So anyway, here Krishna is definitely expressing his natural partiality. So let's describe it. It's only natural. Krishna is going to be obliged to those who are devoted to him as a means of reciprocation for their love and affection. And like here in this verse is quite here. One should not eat the food of one who is hateful, nor should one feed a hateful person. You, O king, hate the Pandavas, and the Pandavas are my very life heir. So I might guess that this verse comes up in relationship to Duryodhana wanting to feed Krishna.
Okay.
Yes, we can see this, but he said, no, forget it. So Krishna, although he is impartial, he's not just he's partial to devotion, but he is controlled by devotion. So the devotees naturally attract Krishna's grace and mercy to those, yeah. But as we hear, he gives mercy to demons when he personally kills them. You know, so this is the Pandavas. Any further questions or comments on this? A few verses. Read a few there.
That's, this thing, one should not eat the food of one who is hateful. That's
Yeah.
where I think about materialistic people. We should try not eat what materialistic
Yeah,
people.
be careful.
Because the consciousness goes in what they're cooking.
Yeah.
They're relishing as they're cooking, and the wrong
There's
consciousness, and you end up eating that consciousness.
I have a question there. then.
Yes,
If, sorry, Prabhu, sorry.
go ahead. Yes.
Okay. What Chandravali just said, please help me with this, because if somebody invites you, a non-devotee, invites you with sincerity and wanting your company, is it not advisable to have what they offer you?
Well, you should have your boundaries, that's for sure. You know, if they offer you meat, obviously you're not going to accept it. So let's start with that. I mean, practically speaking, we're not always going to be in ideal situations. We should always eat Krishna Prasad,
Yeah.
and it should be directly cooked and offered to Krishna. But because of our work, maybe, and you mentioned, it sounds like you're bringing up about perhaps a family connection.
Yes. Yeah.
Then sometimes we cannot always follow the ideal. I would say honestly that. And like one time I was trapped in the airport in India, Mumbai, I think, big airport. And I was hungry. I was very hungry that I was shaking, and I had to eat something. So I had to eat in this big, it was nice though. It was an open plan vegetarian restaurant. I had to queue up with everyone and get my dokla. So I had to survive, man. But so then it's always good we can, well, we should have our, as I said, we should draw our lines. You know, it's certain things we don't eat, and we don't care who makes it. For us, we ain't going to eat it if it's not vegetarian. But then if it happens to be vegetarian and the person's a tried, then we offer it within our mind. We may offer it. It's not the best. Yeah, I had a situation when my mother was sick. She was in her last days, and I went to visit her. And in her sickness, she made me a fruit cake. You know, so I went there and she offered me the fruit cake, and it dawned on me that's probably been made with eggs. You know, so what do? I ate the cake and I hope for the best. Yeah, actually, I only found out afterwards it was made of egg, but I didn't make a thing of it. And she didn't offer it to Krishna. She offered it to me. But I took that, you know.
And then you do a manasik offering, because the reason I'm asking is people who invite you, they may not be Krishna conscious. They may be conscious of God, I don't know. But they're fully aware of how and what we eat and what we don't eat. And then and manasik offering in really a good faith, because knowingly nobody's going to offer it to Krishna if you have any doubts.
Yeah, Prabhupada himself would go to house programs. He would be invited to aristocratic Indian families, and he would go with his disciples. Mother Jamuna would come in the early days as well. Yeah. And she would go in the kitchen and note down all the everything that was made, and Prabhupada wanted her to learn. So there's examples of Prabhupada there. For preaching purposes, sometimes. I think I heard the story one time, even if someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but one time there was onions in the offering.
Yes, and Prabhupada said to the disciples, eat it.
Yeah, just keep quiet.
Keep quiet and eat it.
Doesn't mean we should eat onions, but just saying sometimes we cannot always eat Mahaprasad that comes from the altar. It's not. But as far as possible, we should always, we shouldn't, especially if we're with family. I mean, at some point they should know our standards, you know? They should be familiar with what they can cook or what they can't, or perhaps, anyway, that's some of you might have different standards. But practically speaking, over the years, when I speak to devotees, for instance, some would have to attend business lunches. So that's something else. And if they refuse, or some of them I know devotees at work, they take a cooker with them and they're cooking in the hotel room. One friend of mine was cooking in a hotel room somewhere in India, and of course the persons who own the hotel were very upset because they saw the electricity wheel spinning very fast and banging on the door, and got found out having their own cooker inside the hotel room. So this is not the perfect place we're in, but as often as much as possible, we should understand that actually it's said in the Mahabharata, there's quite a large section, which I read it once and I haven't found it again. I need to find it again, where Yudhishthira Maharaj, I think, asked Narada Muni about food and eating. And there's chapters, and there's a few chapters where Narada describes all the culture and the importance, taken very, very seriously, the food you eat. If you look at Chaitanya Charitamrita and the culture there, often Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would go somewhere and his own servant would cook in someone's house. That was the deal. Okay, you can offer to Lord Chaitanya to come, but his own cooks would cook.
Yeah.
Unless it was a Brahmin. And as well as other very, very strict rules regarding cooking. That's one of the reasons that Ajamil was going to be taken to hell, because the Yamaduta said he's eaten food cooked by a prostitute. So therefore he's destined to hell. And also, and in there in the Mahabharata, it describes that one should never eat food cooked by someone that they don't know. So it's good to keep in mind next time someone's trying to tell you to go to a restaurant. So any other experiences on that? Could be a big subject. But
I kind of brought it up because to recap in my head, I think some things you have to keep recapping in your head all the time, And I remember when I went to America, my sister's son's wedding, and then we'd go out to eat, and I'd just have like nicely prepared fruit salads, and fruit juices and things like that.
Yeah, you can do things like that. Yeah, that's the best way to go, if you can, is to eat non-cooked food.
Yeah.
Food is, especially not grains. Try and avoid grains if you can. Eat salads or fruits. Yeah, I mean that's like, for instance, it's always we get invited to Mr. Agarwal's place,
Yeah.
big banquet. So that's a compromise. I mean he's a devotee, but he doesn't cook it. It's done by a catering firm. And he considers that if you say the Saridada Vijayajal, then that makes it Prashadam. But at least he has a choice. If he does a big do, then he's got fruits and he's got, I know we've been to his house before, but you've got to be quite sense control because some of the food looks really nice, that's cooked by this. So sometimes it's awkward. It's not the best, sometimes we have to eat these things. But there are some devotees they're very, very strict. They will not go anywhere, will not ever eat anything like that. But we're preaching movement, so sometimes we have to bend a little bit.
I remember in India at weddings, I don't really remember, but the Brahmanas used to cook in there at weddings.
Yeah, that's how strict the Brahmanas would cook.
The Brahmanas would be cooking.
But that was long ago. Now, if you go, they just give it to a catering firm because it's cheaper.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And because you've gone there, you have to eat. If you don't go, then they find out and they feel upset that you didn't come to the wedding.
Yeah, so there's social issues as well. It's sometimes like that, family, just for the sake of family relationships. But, we can be a little bit, in that situation, we can be a little bit clever and kind of eat as little as we can just to kind of appease people, and avoid certain things. Yeah, we like to eat Krishna Prashadam. That's where our heart is. We want to eat what's been offered to Krishna. Now, Prabhupada, sometimes I said, Prabhupada would eat in people's houses. I'm not too sure. Yeah, the devotees, whether it's offered or not, I'm not too sure. Whether there was a Bhoga offering, but I don't think so. I can't remember heard that described by Hari Suri. In one of his lectures, he speaks about there's a series of lectures that Hari Sori gives on different aspects of Prabhupada and what he said. It's very interesting. One of them is on deity worship. I've watched that a couple of times. One of them is on health. One of them is on eating as well. So perhaps I might visit that again to be refreshed on that, exactly what Prabhupada did. All right. So anyway, Krishna doesn't, Krishna's quite strict. Krishna's not going to eat anything that's cooked in a restaurant of Duryodhana. He's not going to eat a catering that was set up for Duryodhana. He wants to go to Vidura's house.
And eat a banana skin.
Yeah. So could we say that Krishna only eats prasadam? He only eats what's offered by his devotees. If we think in the his pastimes, isn't it? In Raj Leela, he only eats food cooked by, well, goes everyone in Raj is devoted to Krishna. So whoever and whatever they offer him, of course, it's going to be sattvic foods. Krishna's going to take it. He's so hungry for the, he's so hungry for the prasad cooked that he actually steals it. He steals butter, isn't it? He kind of ransacks the storerooms. He's so hungry for the devotion. Because actually, we're going off a bit of a tangent here, but I think a lot is described that the housewives who are making all this butter and yogurt, they have a secret desire that Krishna's can come and steal it. They want to please Krishna. He's the heart and soul of the village. So secretly, perhaps Krishna will come and steal my butter. Yeah. All right. Any other prasadam? What do you call it? Antidotes. If not, we can read on. Mother Rajkishore has a hand for reading. You can go ahead.
I was reading. Shall I continue?
Oh, you was. Yeah. Excuse me. So Mother Lavanga Latika, you can take it up from here. Text 44.
Text 44. Text 44. Just see my arrogance. Only Krishna can adequately know and describe your good qualities. But at least I am convinced that the Supreme Lord has descended to this world only for the sake of you. Commentary. It is evident from Krishna's dealings with the Pandavas that Krishna understood their sublime character. No one but Krishna was fully qualified to reciprocate with them. Narada, ashamed to have impudently tried to glorify the brothers, apologizes by submitting one fact of which he is certain. Shri Krishna descended to this world only to please the Pandavas and spread their fame. Text 45. Shri Parikshit said, for a moment, Dharmaraj Yudhisthira remained quiet, and then he sighed, as if embarrassed. At last he spoke, followed in turn by his brothers, wife, and mother. Commentary. Hearing his own praise embarrassed Yudhisthira, or so it seemed. Closer to the truth, however, is that he took this exaggerated praise to be false and thought that Narada was teasing him. In either case, Yudhisthira felt sufficiently moved to sigh audibly, even in front of his mother and younger brothers. Text 46. Yudhisthira said, O crest jewel of brilliant speakers, Lord Hari has no mercy for us. We cannot remember any mercy he has shown us, even after we consider this for a long time.
Okay, so now we're beginning to hear Yudhisthira Maharaj is going to come back on all of this. He's going to...
By calling Narada an eloquent speaker, Yudhisthira subtly accused him of distorting the truth. In Yudhisthira's opinion, proof that Krishna blessed him and his brothers with special favor cannot be found. Text 47. If ordinary materialists see the many calamities that have come upon us, their faith and their inclination to serve Krishna is likely to wither. Commentary. In text 47 through 56, King Yudhisthira refutes the idea that the Pandavas possess Krishna's mercy. Simple people believe Krishna's devotees never suffer misfortune. Yudhisthira says that when such people see the Pandavas' extreme adversities, this faith will be spoiled. But since he knows that the opposite is true, that by hearing about Krishna's loving dealings with the Pandavas, people gain faith, Yudhisthira qualifies his statement with the word iva, as if. Text 48. This would surely come to us. This would surely cause us great distress, for we have dedicated our life and breath only to him. we would suffer like embodied creatures without food, or like fish deprived of water. Commentary. The Pandavas do not resent having been subjected to so many troubles, but they feel responsible for diminishing the faith of other devotees, and this makes them sad. Only the force of Krishna's affection keeps the Pandavas alive.
It's interesting twist on, not twist is the right word, but because normally actually I tend to bring it up often as a proof of the devotion of the Pandavas, that they went through so much turmoil, but they still maintained their faith in Krishna. But Yudhisthira is presenting it as the other way around. The fact that they lost everything, or they was put to so much trouble, although they're devotees, what is it? Actually, he says it diminishes the faith of others. But actually, the last purport, actually, Gopinath mentions, actually, it's the opposite that is true. For those who hear about the science of bhakti, then it increases their faith. But Yudhisthira doesn't see it like that. Carry on.
I was thinking on the other
Sorry?
hand, I was thinking something on the other hand, why Pandavas did not feel any pain,
But
like
instead, they didn't feel any particular resent, which is important.
Resent.
Yeah, they didn't have no resent. They didn't feel resentful to what they
were going through.
Yeah.
Because devotees, when they're at such a level, nothing matters, I was thinking that way. I was just thinking, before my thoughts were like, oh, look how much they've gone through and things like that. But when I realized that how pure those devotees are, they don't, feel the pain or whatever they go through. Like Prabhupada going to America and all that. His Guru Maharaj and Krishna was always with him. He didn't feel any. We would think, oh, a man of 70 going with no Lakshmi,
Yeah.
He was living like this, he was living like that. But
He had heart attacks on the boat, etc.
He's so into Krishna and his Guru that these externals doesn't matter. The same with Pandavas, I feel. I was thinking to myself anyway.
Yeah, it's an important point. There are examples of devotees who get mercy in the form of great material assets. One of them is Sudama Brahmana, or get mercy through prolonged, vigorous health as well. Sometimes Krishna blesses devotees to have, for instance, full function of their senses for like 10 creations. But we cannot. We cannot and we should not judge Krishna's reciprocation based on the externals. That's what you're saying. Based on the different situations that Krishna's devotees are put into. We should be careful not to miss, we cannot make an immediate assumption that these devotees have not got mercy. Often, actually, that verse, Harinam Darshanam Shanai, not quite right, but you're familiar with this, most of you, where actually Krishna's mercy is sometimes seen as when he takes everything away. And Prabhupada saw himself in that situation. He gave himself as a personal example. Everything was stripped away from him. So you're going to see that as well. You're going to see devotees like Sudama Brahmana, then you're going to see devotees who lose. But if they do lose so-called opulence, it's generally only temporary. The Pandavas, they eventually won everything back. They have won the battle of Kurukshetra and they obtained the kingdom again. So generally you're going to see that. And some devotees, even if they're in abstract poverty, then they actually want to stay in abject poverty if they have devotion. Who's an example of that? Someone who was very poor and was not interested in getting the roof fixed of his house or getting an extension.
Kola the banana seller in
Kolavecha
Navadvip.
Shrita, yeah. Even the Lord offered him the newest iPhone, but he refused it.
Yeah.
I'm joking there. Yeah, he was offered wealth. The Lord was pleading, please, Kolavetra, please take, and I give you sovereignty over the planets. You can have, as I said, you can have full strength of your senses for 10 million creations. But no, I just want to stay here making these paper cups, and I want to see you come before me. That's enough for me. So we're going to see this. Yes,
What was his
please.
name? Sorry, Mulli. Prabhu.
Sorry?
What was his name? I know the story, but I've forgotten his name. You did mention. I couldn't hear you properly.
Kolavetra Sridhar. Kolavetra, he's an associate of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it's nice if you ever go on Navadvip Paragram, then all the senior devotees, they do a play when we get there. It's just, his place is near the Jagannath Mandir in Rajpur. If you go in the gardens, you walk through the back and there's a big banana plantation. And there's Kolavetra Sridhar's house, or where it stood. And devotees do a play there about that whole pastime. Anyone been to that? I heard someone say.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, very nice.
Always would be Pankaj Janri and Janani Nivas would end up playing one of the parts. Remember Jai Pataka Maharaj and Lokanath Swami, great ecstasy for the devotees. But anyway, to the point, Chandravali's fell off the chair again in ecstasy.
No, but Prabhu, coming to this point, that it's actually a firm faith without any doubt. Only then, I mean, this is the proof that what Pandavas are saying right now is that we were in abject poverty and things like that. But it was the faith that kept them going. It was the trust in Krishna, where mere mortal like me, Paul, anything happens, oh my God, where are you, Krishna, now? You know, so whatever happens is for the best.
But it should be understood as well that if we read the Mahabharata, that the Pandavas did question and did think deeply about their situation. They didn't automatically, it's not as if they walked out, you know, when they got told to leave, when they was taking everything away and they was banished, you know, they didn't dance away in glee. Oh, it's all Krishna's mercy. Ha, ha, ha. We don't care. They was actually very thoughtful, thought really deeply and in prayer and contemplation. And only with the help actually of Yudhisthira Maharaj that they understood it eventually to be Krishna's plan, but it wasn't immediately evident to the Pandavas. It was as if they just stood. So it's the same with us as devotees, that when we're put into difficult situations, unless we're like Prahlad Maharaj, now that's something different. But we're going to be thoughtful. We're going to try and see how, and we may not understand immediately what is Krishna's plan, and we might have doubts is not the right word. We may have doubts, but we doubts in what is Krishna's plan, that we don't have doubts in Krishna, but what are we to learn from it? So the Pandavas, you know, they were very interested. Imagine they was very introspective when they lost everything, tried to understand, but they wanted to understand the Lord's plan. So the same with us. We're going to be put into difficulties, and it's not as, and we're going to be forced to question our situation. But we should always conclude it's Krishna's mercy, but that may take some getting to.
Yes, because most of us on this Zoom, we've been practicing for a few years. So now we are conditioning ourselves. If something goes wrong, we analyze it must be something better waiting for us, or we see Krishna's hand in it. So it's always work in progress.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And I find actually, if you speak to senior devotees or speak to others, they will help to clarify. They generally help to bring you to the conclusion what's happening to you is a Krishna's mercy. Sometimes it takes, sometimes we may not conclude that ourselves, but from an objective point of view, devotees looking at us as situation, and from their wisdom and experience, then they can also point out actually that this is you may not see it now, but this is Krishna's grace upon you. It doesn't make sense now, but it will make sense. I give you that, because that's their experience in their spiritual life. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Does all devotee have to go through difficulties? Does all devotee go through difficulties to be
Well, we all have to go through old age, that's for sure. And that's going to bring difficulties. Well, yeah, well, because this is a place that we are not in Vaikuntha, if you hadn't noticed.
Really?
We're actually living in the kingdom of, just like there was, the residents living in the kingdom of Kamsa or the kingdom of Ravana. So we're living in a world which is run by demons, which is run by materialistic persons. So we shouldn't, so we can only but expect difficulty. One in a one form or another. Yes.
Yeah, Maharaj was saying the difficulties, they help you grow. So you've got to, because there's lessons in that, that we need in the difficulties.
Yeah, so it's a very good point. So yes, so these difficulties come so that we can grow. And without difficulties, we are not going to grow. Without difficulties, we are not going to pick up our beads with stark determination to take shelter. We need a bit of pushing. We need a bit of, you could say we need a bit of excitement in the form of challenges for us. Yeah, very good point that Bhakti Vikash Maharaj is making. Yeah, it helps us grow. Yes.
Yeah, Muli Prabhu, I mean, as being a devotee, we all go through, but then we just accept it and carry on with our sadhana. There's nothing can be done about it,
Keep on keeping on.
Yeah, keep on going for our spiritual path. Keep on moving. That's the only choice we have, really.
Yeah. Just like we have this T-shirt, they have these T-shirts and posters, isn't it? Carry on, what's it? Carry on doing this, carry on doing this, carry on doing. So carry on chanting Hare Krishna.
Keep calm and carry on.
Yeah, that's it. Keep calm and eat donuts, or keep calm and
eat donuts.
Keep calm, and we say keep calm and chant Hare Krishna. Yeah, of course, we're going to continue.
Yeah.
So in that sense, we have to have a bit of a quality of being stubborn, in a sense that despite what gets thrown at us, we're going to pick up our bead bag and we're still going to go to the temple.
Just accept it. That's the Lord's wish.
Yeah.
That's it. There's nothing we can do.
Yeah, we're still going to, no matter.
No matter what happens, we're just gonna, at the end of the tunnel, we're just gonna have a light and we're gonna see you no matter what happens. That's it.
Yeah. No matter what happens, you're going to come and cook breakfast for the Lord. You're going to cook the Raj Bhoga. You don't care. Even if the family can't understand why you got faith in Krishna, you just lost your mortgage, your husband's just everything's gone upside down in your life, and here we don't worship Krishna, and I've still got a nice car, but you're worshiping Krishna, and this is happening and that happening. They don't understand that Krishna's.
Well, he might come in our dream. You never know.
Yeah, Krishna's. We're just going through the last episode in this material world. Anyway, yes.
True.
Yeah. So how do we get there? Great. Suffering. Yeah, suffering's always a good. There's plenty of it. It's always a good subject. Sukha dukkha, suffering and happiness, the dualities of the world. But perhaps if you like, you can continue, Mother Lavanga. I forgot what text you were. Okay.
48, I think, I'm in. Yeah. This would surely cause us great distress, for we have dedicated our life and breath to him. We would suffer like embodied creatures without food, or like fish deprived of water. Yeah, I read that.
Yeah, exactly. 49.
Text 49. Therefore, on the pretext of arranging the sacrifice, I begged him, Dear Master, please show how the fortunes of the devotees and the non-devotees differ. Commentary. Yudhishthira did not undertake the demanding Rajasuya Yagya for the power and fame it would earn him. He and his brothers were untouched by such material motives. He wanted only to help the world better understand the glories of Krishna and his devotees. Therefore, O Lord of Lords, let the people of the world see the power of devotional service rendered to your lotus feet. Please show them, O Almighty One, the position of those Kurus and Shinjayas who worship you, and the position of those who do not. Bhagavatam 10:72-5. Text 50-51. By this sacrifice, all the people will see the wonderful assets that belong to your devotees in this life and the next. Opulences, all pure and utterly distinct from material assets. Then, gaining absolute trust in you, people will worship your lotus feet, become ever free of misery and fear, and achieve happiness in all respects. Commentary.
Just
People tend to be strongly
just a point
influenced.
here. It's just that here, ultimately, yes, devotees go through different dualities in this world, but ultimately everything ends in bliss. In other words, they actually go back to be with Krishna. Yeah, so we should keep that in mind as well. Like that's what's being described here. Ultimately, devotees obtain Krishna's grace and are free of all misery and fear. So that's everything ends in bliss eventually. Okay, before.
Commentary. People tend to be strongly influenced by the example of their leaders. The Pandavas fulfilled their sovereign responsibilities perfectly by the devotion and precise care with which they carried out the Rajasuya sacrifice, by the perfect justice of their administration in this life, and by the exalted position among the demigods they were sure to attain in the next. The Pandavas inspired the innocent people to follow the path of devotional service to Krishna. Everyone could see that the extraordinary wealth and power of the Pandavas was untainted by material faults, because that wealth and power was intended only for the service of Krishna. Text 52. Now our non-devotee enemies have been destroyed, our kingdom returned to us, and our grief made greater than ever before. Commentary. After the Rajasuya sacrifice and the Kurukshetra war, Jarasandha, Shishupal, Duryodhana, and their allies were all dead, but in fact their existence had been annihilated in an even fuller sense, because they were never to take birth again. And although the Pandavas, after long years of suppression, were free to rule, in Yudhishthira's opinion, they had been happier when struggling against one threat of destruction after another.
Interesting, Yudhishthira Maharaj. There's an amazing part of the Mahabharata. It's in the Shanti Parva. It's the beginning of the Shanti Parva. It's after the Battle of Kurukshetra. And Yudhishthira Maharaj is, they're on the battlefield. I think the Brahmins are doing last rites for 2 months. There's hundreds of Brahmins, thousands of Brahmins doing last rites and burning all the bodies. And I mentioned this before, there's thousands and thousands of crying wives, crying daughters, etc. And it's harrowing. You can imagine it, millions and millions of distraught relatives crying their hearts out. And there's millions of bodies being burned. You can imagine the whole scene. It's quite dramatic. And Yudhishthira looks at this and he concludes, just so I can sit on the throne, all this has happened. And no one can cheer him. He doesn't want to be the king. And all the Pandavas, one by one, and all the sages come to try and lift his spirits and tell him to do his duty. But he's having none of it, nothing of it. And he's fed up. He wants to go to the forest, exactly as Arjuna did. And it's only actually when Krishna comes, even Krishna doesn't appease it. Actually, he kind of,
wasn't it?
Yeah, but then Krishna advises him to hear from Bhishma.
Yeah.
And then hearing from Bhishma about then Bhishma gives him confidence and encouragement to take up the role. But anyway, so just remembering that, so Maharaj Yudhisthira is kind of alluring to that. Amazingly, he's saying here that they rather, what he's experiencing, what they experience, he'd rather go through all the grief they had before. Anyway, this is the mind of Yudhisthira. Continue, Baba. Sorry, I interrupted.
You can understand that because, I mean, what's the point of having all this beautiful kingdom, good care, and all these people are dead?
Yeah, there's no one to share. That's what.
Yeah, it's not. It's just that feeling. I mean, what's the point, you know?
Yeah.
But what to do? It's a duty, isn't it? He has to do a duty.
Yeah. We can understand having.
But things did carry on after, somehow or another. Yudhisthira had the responsibility of taking care of all these
Women.
single women, and so he had a big job and the Pandavas to make sure that was all taken care of. But then we hear about the kingdom did go on. There was other warriors that became warriors. You know, things went on. But no doubt it wasn't easy. Yeah, continue. No.
Yeah, text 53. It is not our fault that many saintly persons met their demise, including venerable teachers like Drona and Bhishma, and sons like Abhimanyu. Commentary. This is why gaining the kingdom brought no happiness to the Pandavas. Most of their noble relatives, many of them saintly devotees of Krishna, had been killed in conflict for sovereignty. Yudhisthira blamed himself for these deaths, since the war had been fought to install him on the throne.
Yeah.
Text 54. The company of those devotees of Sri Vishnu is more desirable to us than life itself. Deprived of that association, we can no longer find happiness. Text 55. We enjoy the pleasure of seeing Sri Krishna's lotus face only once in a while, when after long times absent, he visits us on some business. Commentary. Krishna did not return to Hastinapur a few times after the Kurukshetra. Krishna did return to Hastinapur a few times after the Kurukshetra war, as when Yudhisthira invited him to attend the Ashwamedha sacrifices. But these few visits were far too short to allay the pain of separation the Pandavas suffered most of the time. Text 56. The Yadavas alone are his true friends, living always with them in Dwarka. He is always busy satisfying those dear and supremely fortunate friends. Commentary. Narada might suggest to the Pandavas that Krishna will soon finish his business and return to them, because to Krishna they are dearer than anyone else. No, Yudhisthira replies, the Yadavas are even more dear to Krishna, more dear. Krishna very much favors the Yadavas simply because they are the most exalted members of the Lord's own dynasty. Moreover, the Yadavas are endowed with the priceless treasure of pure love for Krishna. Therefore, Krishna goes out of his way to to keep them always happy. Yudhisthira reasons that since the Yadavas are enjoying Krishna's company and the Pandavas are not, the Yadavas must be more favored. Text 57. From time to time you have observed him carrying messages, driving chariots, and doing other services for us. But he does these things only to absolve himself of his debts to us, destroy our sins, and protect our religious principles. Commentary. In addition to acting as a Pandava's messenger, charioteer, and general servant, Krishna also offered them advice as a royal counselor and killed irreligious miscreants on their behalf. But in Yudhisthira's opinion, the impartial Supreme Lord never acted out of preference toward the Pandavas. Text 58. Sri Pariksit continued, Then Bhima, the bosom friend of the Lord of the Yadavas, laughed loudly and said, Please listen, my dear disciple of Sri Krishna. Commentary. The word narma denotes natural joking between intimate friends. Bhima was so intimate with Krishna that Bhima could pretend to discern in Narada's character the faults the sage had acquired in Krishna's association. For example, Narada must have learned from Krishna how to cleverly juggle the meaning of words, just as Krishna always juggled words himself. Text 59. Krishna is the original source of illusion, the guru of all clever deceivers. His acts are fathomless like an ocean. We have little faith in many crafty things he says and does. doesn't he have all sorts of motives? Commentary. Maya means magic, and it also means material nature, the source of illusion in the created world. Krishna is the source of Maya in both senses of the word. In Bhima's opinion, Krishna is too unpredictable and deceptive to trust. Sometimes Krishna acts just for his personal enjoyment. Sometimes he manufactures illusions out of mere curiosity. And sometimes he uses his wit to intentionally bewilder his devotees. In any case, his motive is never simple affection, and the games he plays are not real. Since Bhima and his brothers are experienced men of the world, they are not going to put any trust in such behavior. Text 60.
Interesting description here of Krishna.
Yes, and it says his motive is never simple affection. So, you know, I do see Krishna as quite affectionate, but
Yes.
this is saying that there's, he may appear affectionate, I guess, but he's playing some game behind it.
Yeah, in other words, for instance, even Krishna's appearance here, it's not just to facilitate one thing. There was many things going on. So when Krishna's like interacting with his devotees in various ways, he's interacting, serving many different purposes at the same time. Actually, that's one of the reasons that Krishna he puts his devotees above him in the connoisseurs of love. In that, let me get this. So, the devotees, they are only focused on Krishna, one person, but Krishna is not focused on just one devotee. He's focused on millions of devotees. So Krishna, once it's mentioned in one of my Guru Maharaj's books. So Krishna sees his devotees are being at an advantage because they just have Krishna in their hearts. Krishna's got all his devotees in the heart. So therefore, he is bound by love to reciprocate with them in a variety of different ways, all at the same time. So, but Bhima is saying this, he's mentioning this, so it's coming out. So as it's, Krishna is unpredictable. He can be deceptive. But he's not like a materialistic deceptive. He is being deceptive in some way in order to benefit his devotees. He's unpredictable as well. Arjuna said, no, Krishna told Arjuna that you declare it boldly that my devotee will never perish. Because Krishna sometimes breaks his promises because of love. So in that sense, Krishna,
yeah, because of his devotee.
Yeah, so that's
yeah,
right.
That's right.
Bhima's cleverly using, he's cleverly glorifying Krishna here, actually. Because Krishna has, he describes, Krishna acts for his personal enjoyment. It's like, he doesn't, Krishna is up in Rama, because his personal enjoyment is in reciprocating the love of his devotees. That's where he gets his enjoyment from.
And that's why Murli.
Yeah, go on.
Sorry, Murli Prabhu. That's why I think, like you said early on, that Krishna is bound by love of the devotee. He'll do whatever they want to. He's just mesmerized by his love.
Yeah, that's it. He is captivated, and he will do many, like with the gopis, he even overstepped Dharma in order to please them.
Yes.
Yes, he manufactures illusions out of mere curiosity, sometimes uses wit to intentionally bewilder his devotees. Yes, many times he speaks many clever words to Maharaj Nanda. Very sweetly he spoke to convince Nanda Maharaj not to worship Indra. Very charming, sweet words. Very charming. He was a sweet speaker. So in one sense, he was being duplicitous there. Well, he wasn't being straightforward. He was kind of, the ends he wanted to get was them to worship Govardhan, but to do that he had to be a little bit not quite straightforward.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
And like that. So perhaps we'll stop there. Interesting place to stop this description of Krishna. You know?
We go back to nectar of devotion.
Yeah, it kind of takes us back there.
Yeah.
Nectar
Yeah,
of
it
devotion,
does.
many different pastimes. The way
Mm.
Krishna is Diro Datta, Diro Lalita, which these are contradictory traits in his personality. He can be a hero. Sometimes he can come across as being quite envious and belocious to his enemies. At the same time, sometimes he is, what's that verse? Bhagavad Gita. He is not partial. It's the verse 9th chapter. Anyone can remember it? I envy no one, nor is anyone my friend, but whoever renders service is my devotee. Anyway, that's Krishna.
Yeah.
He's a great mystery. So
Mm.
trying to understand him is our life and soul.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right.
And
Is
think
it
for him.
class tomorrow? Chandrali, is there a class tomorrow?
No. I was going to send a message. No. I told
Okay.
you.
Hello, I'm Jayanti. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be at the temple. Won't you be all at the temple?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Afternoon. I said, yeah, no class.
Okay, so we'll stop there and look forward to being with everyone tomorrow for the appearance of Lord Balaramji, Balaram Jayanti. Hare Krishna.
Very well.
Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Ki jai. He's great. Muli Prabhu ki jai.
Thank you.
Bhavane Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namah.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Muli Prabhu. It was
Hare
wonderful
Bol,
class.
thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare